and welcome to a video I've been very excited to film. This was inspired by my current obsession, Criminal Minds. I managed to get through 7 seasons in 2 months, which doesn't sound that impressive. There's 25 episodes per season and each episode is at least 45 minutes long. You do the maths. I have too much spare time on my hands. Anyway, if you do watch Criminal Minds, you probably also love Spencer Reid, and you will also know that he reads a lot. So while I was watching, I was also writing down every time I noticed Spencer Reid reading, and I thought it'd be fun to try and read like him. So I'm refilming this intro because the original intro was a bit dull. Hello, I'm really sorry about the quality because it is very early in the morning because I'm about to go to the zoo with uni. Because it's basically just preschool. And I'm actually about to finish the first book, but you can still come on the journey with me while I read this book. So I started off only knowing The Illustrated Man by Ray Bradbury from this episode of Criminal Minds.
Hey, have you read The Illustrated Man?
Nope.
Oh, it's amazing. It's a collection of short stories by Ray Bradbury based around the metafictive device of a man who's covered in tattoos drawn by a woman from the future. At nighttime, the tattoos come to life and tell a story. It's pretty awesome.
Oh, a space in the tree.
And there's no date on that one.
Why would he leave that space blank?
Maybe this guy's just a psycho.
I had no idea what I was getting into. I have no idea what it's about yet, apart from what he said in the episode, which is it was about the guy that had like loads of tattoos and there was a space missing on the body, so I don't know if that comes into it, that there was like a space missing ready for another tattoo, or I don't know if that's got anything to do with it, but that was what was in the episode. Yeah. Oh, also, he did also mention The Collector, but I've already read that book. I mean, I could reread it, I guess, because I did it for A-levels, and I didn't finish the book. I wrote my A-level essay on a book I didn't finish, so it's kind of no wonder that I got a D. Yeah, so I'm reading this one now. I started reading it on the coach to the zoo. Because I am a child and I go to preschool. This was actually a uni trip. Still got my face painted, of course, like a snow leopard. And I got through quite a lot of it. I think I got to about page 70. That is really quick reading for me.
I hope she reads as fast as Reid.
No one reads as fast as Reid.
Rude, interrupting. At first I was a bit frustrated because it is set out like a bunch of short stories told by the illustrations on the Illustrated Man's back. So the book isn't actually about the Illustrated Man. It's basically a collection of short stories, which is great because it keeps my attention. But I was kind of disappointed because I thought it was going to be about this Illustrated Man. I thought it was going to be like a kind of thriller thing. But actually what it turned out to be was way more interesting. Also, like, each time I'd start a chapter, I don't know if I can get into this one because I was so invested in the last story, and then within like half a page I was there, I was with it, and I didn't want to leave that story, and then within a few more pages I was on to the next story and I was like, no, but I wanted the end of that one. But to be honest, he managed to include just enough in each story that it like left you wanting more, but you had enough, if that makes sense. Like, I think adding anything more to most of the stories might have not ruined it, but like it, you know, wasn't needed. It was just like some of the characters you just wanted to stay with, or like some of the premises, because basically I feel like I've missed out a huge part of this. This was written in the 1950s and all of the stories take place in the future, so I mean technically we are living the future that he's talking about, but we're not because we're not in space. A lot of it involves space travel. I think my favourite story was actually the first story that he put in, which was great because it like grabbed my attention and made me want to read more, but I was so sad when it ended. But it was a great introduction to how the worlds were going to work. Another thing I wanted to talk about was I was very worried when starting one of the stories. Out of nowhere it just says the N-word and I was like, oh, that's the 1950s, and then I kept reading and it was way more progressive than I thought it was going to be. You know, when I started the chapter I was a bit worried. But yeah, I'm gonna spoil this chapter for you, so, you know, warning. So this would have been written around the time that racism was like a huge issue. Obviously it's still an issue, but this was the 1950s. And he was writing about how if they put every black person onto Mars, everyone on Earth, all the white people, fought and then blew everyone up, and they sent the remaining white people back to, well, onto Mars. And basically it was about how they would be treated coming to this world after how they treated them. I mean, I wasn't around at the time, I don't know how much of an impact that would have had written in a book, but I would imagine that was pretty progressive for early 1950s. I think the only other thing that I would have liked to have is a female lead, because every story is male leads. So in that sense it's not quite so progressive, but you know, I'll give him credit where it's due. This is a really good book. I haven't finished it yet. I have 2 chapters left, I think. So I'm just gonna finish that and then I'll give my review. Well, I wasn't expecting that. That was a really good story. That was really fun. Let me come back with a review. I think I will give it 4 stars. I don't think it's quite 5 stars, but I don't think it's any less than 4 stars, so... I think I just said the same thing twice. I'm going mad. Anyway, yeah, 4 stars, first book. I'm really glad that I read this. It gives you an insight into what the people of the 1950s thought that it would be like now. Well, they definitely thought they would be in space and probably be on Mars. 4 stars, enjoyed it. So the next book that I wanted to read is by Arthur Conan Doyle. I think he's a Sir now, no? The Sign of Fall. This one I saw reading quite a lot. I think maybe over like 3 episodes he was like in the background reading it. And surprisingly enough, I've never actually read a Sherlock Holmes... I wouldn't say they're novels, are they? They're not big enough to be novels, maybe? I've never read a Sherlock Holmes story. I've watched pretty much every adaptation of it. My favourite is definitely the one with Benedict Cumberbatch and Martin Freeman. Mostly because Martin Freeman.
God, I'm such an amazing icon.
But, oh yeah, but there's that one with RDJ. That one's pretty good too. And I actually did quite like Henry Cavill when he played Sherlock.
Dare I ask?
I think maybe I just like every actor that's played Sherlock. Moving on. I have no idea what this one's about. One of Sherlock Holmes' great adventures. A tale of an injured lady, $500,000 in treasure, a black cannibal, and a wooden-legged ruffian. Okay. Yeah, I thought I'd seen all of the Sherlock Holmes, like, stories dramatised, but I don't remember this one. I'm gonna see how early on in the book I can guess the ending. I bet I can't, because like the only one that I think I got straight away was the one, I think it's literally the first episode with the taxi driver. Hounds of Baskerville was pretty good, but I've seen it so many times that I just kind of hate it now. This one's pretty short again. It's only 145 pages, so I probably won't come back halfway through, and I'll probably just see you at the end of the book again like I did with this one. So yeah, I will see you when I see you. Oh, I'm a mess. Hi. I finished the Sherlock book and I'm so poorly, so I will be coming back and talking about it when I feel better. Yeah, okay, sorry. Hello, Merry Almost Christmas. Wow, that's dark, hold on. Hi, I have wet hair. And I'm feeling better. I finished Sherlock and, well, let me get my notes, which are also my light source. So overall, oh my gosh, my hair is not good. So overall, I really enjoyed it. I did find it a little bit hard to read in some places because it was like written in Old English, and some of the homonyms and the words that they used then mean different things now. Like Sherlock kept saying over yonder, and it kept making me laugh because I was like, did people really just use over yonder in like casual conversation, or was that just a Sherlock thing? And I asked my mum and she was like, yeah, my grandma used to do that all the time, like just in casual conversation. And so I think we need to bring that back. Also, there was things like shooting the bridges, which I guess meant like when boats used to go under a bridge, and especially like it was a London thing. I don't know if we still use that, but it was stuff like that. And yeah, I had to Google a few things because obviously we don't use the same methods of speech as they did then, especially as someone as well spoken as Sherlock. In case you were wondering, these are the two bookmarks I used because I was using this one. Oh, you can't see that. I was using this one, and then I bought this one, which I thought is just really cute, and then the dog decided to eat it, so now it's got bite marks in it. You could also tell the difference between the different accents, like the Queen's English and Cockney read very well. Also, Sherlock and John Watson were so gay in this. Like, there is no denying it. He definitely wrote it on purpose like that. Like, I mean, he was mates with Oscar Wilde. I can't remember, somebody's eyes were twinkling. I think it was Watson was commenting on how Sherlock's eyes were twinkling and sparkling when he was like excited about something. And then there was another point when Sherlock was playing the violin to like help him sleep, and like it was very cute and very gay. And so I see why people ship them. I haven't said ship in a while. Okay. Oh, also, I realised why they didn't use The Sign of Four as a TV show. Because it would have been kind of difficult to, considering a lot of it was like taking the mick out of how the bad guy looked, and you know, it would not be on TV today. However, I did find The Sign of Three, which is in the BBC Sherlock, and I rewatched that and realised like they used the sign of 3 as the sign that Mary was going to have John's baby, and they also included Major Sholto, but he was like a completely different character in that, so that was good. Another thing that they did that was in the show, but it was earlier on in the show, not in The Sign of 4, it was in like the second episode, which works better because this is the second book that Sir Arthur Conan Doyle wrote, was that in this book he managed to work out that Watson's brother was a drunk, etc. You know, it's in the show, by looking at his, I think it was a cigarette case, but obviously it's something we don't have anymore, so people do have cigarette cases, but I don't think it was a cigarette case. It was some kind of case that we don't have anymore, or that I wouldn't recognise. And they swapped that out for a phone in the series. So like in the series, he knows that he's a drunkard because he's got like the scratches where he would normally plug in his phone, because he's been fumbling around with it so much because he's drunk a lot. And the same thing was with the case. Maybe it was like a watch case? It was a weird thing that I had no idea, again, what it was. But I pieced it together using the TV series, so I think it's quite helpful that I have seen it. I did like that they still include the homeless people in the series, and Sherlock's drug addiction was pretty difficult for me to read. In the very first page, I was like, please don't let this be like a big thing in the whole of the book, but thankfully it was just the first page. So yeah, trigger warning, if you do end up reading it, just skip the first page if you're not good with, I don't want to say it, so I'll just put it up. Also, John Watson and Mary Morstan have the cutest first encounters ever, and like that, it was just so adorable, like seeing their relationship, like, and how it actually started in the books. And I really wanted more of it, but annoyingly, half of the book was taken up with the actual, like, the mystery, and then Sherlock solved it halfway through. Like, literally, it was like 100 pages into the book, and for the other 100 pages, it was like the criminal's version of events, like his life story, and to be honest, I didn't care, because I just wanted Sherlock and Mary and Watson. I just wanted them and their little world. I wanted to follow those characters, and I struggled through to the end of the book, I'm not gonna lie. But it was fine because it was a short book as well. I think I'd have just preferred it if we found out through Sherlock. I think it just felt like a lot of telling rather than showing. Obviously we'd found out all of the major facts already through Sherlock, and we needed, I guess, the backstory for why it all happened, but I don't know, it just felt kind of long. It's like 100 pages of explanation that we didn't need. I mean, I guess I understand why we needed like another perspective for why the crime was committed, because of the time that it was written in, and Sir Arthur Conan Doyle was trying to make a social commentary on the times, but for me, I didn't care. I just wanted Sherlock and John, so yeah. So overall, I gave the book 3 stars out of 5. I feel like it's a little bit outdated now, but I understand. Sorry, the dogs are whining. Sorry about all the orbs as well. They're just, you know, floating around. So yeah, 3 stars, possibly 3.5. And I need to read the rest of the Sherlock Holmes book, because I have a feeling this isn't going to be my favourite Sherlock book. But yeah, it was a good introduction, I would say. So next, I moved on to this book, The Fisher King, which is actually the title of a whole Criminal Minds episode. In fact, 2 Criminal Minds episodes, because there's part 1 and part 2. I've made the decision not to rewatch that.
In mythology, the Fisher King is the Grail King. Sir Naif, it's an anagram for Fisher King.
I really thought she was a metaphor, not an actual human being. An ideal.
A Grail.
He believes you're all modern-day Knights of the Round Table.
Ask the question, Sir Percival.
I told you, I'm not Percival. My name is Dr. Spencer Reid from the FBI.
If you want the Grail, you must ask the question.
She's not a Grail. She's your daughter. Her name's Rebecca. And we're here to help her. A Fisher King wound cannot be healed by somebody else. It's not a wound to the body. It's a wound to the memory. A wound to the mind. It's a wound that only you can find, and a wound that only you can heal.
So far, so good. I'm only 44 pages in, and I'm actually really enjoying it. It's keeping the attention span. It's moving quite quickly, it's well paced, and I already care about the characters. Also, on the front it shows that Robin Williams and Jeff Bridges are in the, wait. So I'm really lucky that I got this book, because I buy things off of World of Books, as you know, and I found this book on the American version of the website, went over to the UK version, and there was none. There was 1 left on the American version. So I somehow managed to like sign in as a guest and bought it through the American version of the website. So I'm really lucky that I actually have this book. And so I'm not going to complain about the fact that it's got a movie photo on the front cover, because I really hate that on front covers. But since I do know that Robin Williams is in it, I can hear one of the characters' voices as Robin Williams. Like, I just know that that's who he plays. The part was written for him, and I just know that he'll have played it well. So when I finish reading this book, I'm definitely going to go watch the film and see how close it is to the book. So basically this book is about, because I forgot to tell you already, I always do that. The book is about a man who has a radio show. He's like famous for being miserable, so everybody loves him because he's horrible to people that call into his show. A bit like, not Jonathan Ross, the other one, I always get the middle up. Piers Morgan. A bit like Piers Morgan. Anyway, he accidentally makes someone shoot up a club and then kill himself. He pushes this guy to that point, basically, without realising it, because he just doesn't care about anyone. And then his life is in ruins. We're now 18 months later, a year and a half later, and he is living in like a dump, and people think that he's a homeless man. And then someone tries to kill him, but then Robin Williams comes along and saves the day, and that's where I'm up to. And now the two of them are going to go on adventures together, I'm guessing. But maybe I'm just wanting more Sherlock and Watson. That is a possibility. So anyway, my hair is almost dried now after all that, so I'm going to continue to read The Fisher King. And since, again, it's a really short book, only 208 pages, I'll be back in 160 pages. Hopefully, sorry if you can hear the dogs whining, hopefully before Christmas, hopefully before New Year's. If not, Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Hi. I'm just here to quickly say that I'm an idiot. There is a reason that I couldn't find this book without the movie picture, the actors on the front. It's because I didn't read this bit here, because I'm, oh my gosh, so stupid. Yeah, so it's a novel based on the motion picture. And I found out because I was reading it at Christmas in front of my family, and like someone recognised the film. And as I was like talking about what happened in the book, they were like, when did it come out? I was like, oh, it came out in 1991. And they were like, that's when the film came out. I don't know how they remember when the film came out, but I mean, it was quite embarrassing. But anyway, we all know that Mr. Reid, Dr. Reid, that's, I can't believe I just said that. Sorry, Dr. Reid. I hope I didn't offend you.
This is Calm and it's Doctor.
We all know that Dr. Reid would have read the book and not watched the film, because my guy hasn't seen Twilight. Like, we know that he'd be reading the book and not watching the film. So in true Reid fashion, I will be reading the book of a film rather than the film of a book. I mean, I'm probably going to watch the film after, just to see how different it is. But it's not going to be different because the book was based on the film. Anyway, that's all I wanted to say, that I'm an actual idiot. So far I'm 60 pages in, it's going good, I'm enjoying it a lot. But it makes a lot more sense why I could hear Robin Williams in the character. It's because it is Robin Williams. Anyway, laters. Good morning. I finished it. It was so good. It was heartbreaking, heartwarming, thought-provoking, no notes. It was romantic and funny. It was perfect. And I was thinking about what rating I was going to give it. And to do that, I often compare the book to other books in the different categories, because I have them all on Goodreads in their star ratings in little folders, so I see if the book looks like it'll be able to fit into that folder. And I went through them all from like 3.5 stars onwards, and the only one that I felt like it would fit in was 5 stars. Wow! So we have a 5-star book. So this was another book about homeless people, because obviously Sherlock had his homeless helpers, and in this one it's talking about class and the difference in how people treat them depending on who they are. But even as Jack, the main character, was coming around to seeing that homeless people are people too, here's what he said about a drag queen homeless person. They weren't in drag. He said, the guy was filthy, bleeding, wore earrings, and he stank. It just made me laugh that he thought earrings were as bad as, you know, being bleeding. I mean, there's a possibility that because it's the 90s, it was still a negative thing. I mean, just from TV shows, you know, there's a lot of homophobia still going around in the 90s. With the ending, I expected it to take certain turns, but most of them it didn't, or it took like a kind of diverted path. It was so interesting, and it was very emotional and thought-provoking. So basically this little guy, he's in a mental state where, to push away all of the negative memories, his brain has invented this fantastical world where he's a knight and he's in search of his holy grail, and he needs a maiden and stuff like that. So we follow them on his quests, and yeah, it's really heartwarming and heartbreaking. I think I just need to watch the film and see if that is just as good. I mean, there was obviously insight into characters' thoughts that you don't really get when you watch a film. You just get you get their emotions on their faces, but unless you get an internal monologue, you're not going to know exactly what they're thinking. So I think that the book will probably be a better read than it would be a watch. Having said that, I do think that this will be an amazing film because I could just see the film in my mind's eye as I was reading it. So in my own quest to become as smart as Spencer Reid by reading his reading list, I genuinely feel like I've learned quite a lot without finding myself bored at any point. I think every single one of these books was interesting, philosophical, and they all gave insights into the times that they were written, because we had the 1890s, 1950s, and the 1990s, and I feel like they all kind of encompassed not only what life was like and what morality was like in those times, but also they all had like an important message for people reading it at that time. So none of them felt particularly outdated. I mean, there were moments, but when you take into account the time that it was written in, they all have important messages. Like with The Illustrated Man, many moral dilemmas were raised about how we acted in the 1950s. Sadly, a lot of those are still relevant today. The Sign of Four opened a dialogue for people of the 1890s to talk about how criminals were treated and created by their own society. And The Fisher King focused on the treatment of homeless people and lower classes in America in the 1990s. I mean, it's interesting how they all come from like different eras, but they all have like a similar moral compass for its time. And I've genuinely had so much fun with this. I think this has definitely been my favourite reading challenge that I've done. So thank you, Dr. Spencer Reid. I do have many more books in the list that I've written of Dr. Reid's. So if you want, ignore him. If you would like a sequel? If you would like this to be a series, let me know, because I am more than happy to do this again. Thank you for watching and enjoy the bloopers. Roll tape. Roll. Oh, it's gone a bit dark. Too bright. Just right. Bradbury Man, mother, baba. Intro. You could also tell the difference. Okay. The door open. He. Why do I look like that? Moral? Because, I mean, Reid didn't know what Twilight was. He definitely read this, so it's fine, all is well. It's fine, all is well.